All right, and of course we will start off from the Standard, where we will be taking a look at one of the headlines on the IEBC talks, the talks that have been between the IEBC commissioners and the government, talks that have gone on a whole week, but we understand they finally struck a deal. We'll get specifics by Monday, where each of the commissioners will be getting, or will get to know what package they will be leaving the office with. And that is IEBC exit deal sets a stage for new poll chiefs. All right, these are talks that have been going on for a whole week. Ishmael, I'll start with you. Do you think they've been fruitful?
Well, I think in the first place, of course, the talks were unnecessary, considering that the public was disgruntled that these guys are in office. And they felt that for us to have a good shot in the 2017 elections, they should vacate office. I think the government was supposed to come up with a plan on its own and inform the commissioners that as your employers, this is what we intend to do, and you need to vacate office, of course, by the agreed time. The whole discussions of you sit with your employer, you discuss, do you think we can send you home if we give you 10 or 20,000, or do you know, that really, in my view, was unnecessary.
Yeah. Dismas, do you share the same sentiments?
Well, to a large extent, yes. And I think what these commissioners were doing, actually, they were holding the entire country as ransom, because it's up to them to determine whether or not they are going. In as much as there's a lot of public pressure for them to know, really the buck stops with them. That's why for the first time you have somebody who is leaving office negotiating his own exit strategy, which is really unacceptable. And I think as we grow as a democracy, public servants must learn to know that they're supposed to serve while their service is required by the public. When the people lose confidence in you, it should be easy for you to take a walk and go home. And I think they've been doing this one in very bad faith, holding the country as ransom, and delaying our readiness for the next year's election. But one hopes that as soon as the accounts are credited tomorrow, then we'll have again an independent investigation, because majority of them, they are said to have been very clean. They've not been found guilty, so they're not being thrown out of office because of any mistake. But in future, to ensure that every public servant is able to take care of consequences, or rather suffers consequences for their acts of omission or commission, we should have an independent investigation to establish whether or not actually these commissioners were guilty. Because all of them are going home, and with a general perception that all of them are guilty.
Yes.
So it would be important to have that investigation so that a number of them, their names are very cleared, and anybody found guilty then gets to pay for their mischief.
Don't forget that they have negotiated for that as well. They have said we want protection, we don't want to be investigated and followed. So I don't know how they're actually going again to agree to be investigated, because some of them then could end up going to jail. It's what they don't want. So I'm not sure that anybody will want to investigate.
But what kind of precedence has this set to the rest of the those who are in the public service and would hold these positions in future, or are holding them, that maybe one or two would do something wrong, but they get immunity and they get sent off with a lot of money from the taxpayers? What kind of precedence does this set?
It will be a sad day for Kenya if we just allow public servants to negotiate their very good exit and go home, and maybe they've done a mistake. We can never allow this happen, because you'll be setting a very, very bad precedent, as you've indicated. Anybody's given a big office, they go there, they play around, they prepare Kenya even for disaster, and at the right time, they exit with the way you've indicated, a fat bank balance, and nobody gets to pay for their action. I think it's important we set a very solid precedent that if you've been given a public office to serve, you must do it, you must honor Chapter 6, you must be a man of integrity. If you engage in any criminal activity, if you engage in any mischief, you must pay for that. We cannot allow them to just go home and rub their hands in glee and say, Hail Mary, with a big fat balance. No way. Everybody must be accountable for their action.
Yes. Which is true, but you see, we have crossed that bridge. In actual sense, they have negotiated a package to leave office. So whether we are supposed to allow that should have been done probably in the month of March and April, where we should have said we will not do any negotiations, and the government is actually going to give you, mere severance pay, and we are not going to pay you for the entire period you are supposed to be in office. But that now is under the water. They have negotiated that we want to be reassured we will not be haunted, and the CORD team and the Jubilee political leadership has reassured them that if you leave office, we got nothing to do with you. And this is why I always say, that by the time you see somebody here, he has done his homework. By the time Raila Odinga was going to the streets to do the protests, by the time the commissioners agreed, this is too much, we have to leave office, a lot of things were going on, unaware to the public. There were some, comments and discussions and agreements that were reached before the commissioners actually agreed to
leave
the
office.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at the next page. I know it's pretty much related to what we are talking about. That is Kinyua Rotich, lead IEBC exit deal talks. Of course, this is on the same thing. But from the discussion we're having, are we saying that the IEBC commissioners were handled with baby gloves?
Yeah, I think so. Because you see, for you to kick somebody out of IBC, it's really a very tall order. It requires so many years, tribunals, investigations. And because it was a perception created by court that these guys are actually guilty, they did not manage the electoral process very well, they need to go home. So they needed to be treated, the way you indicated, with a lot of attention and a lot of care. Because even as we sit today, if they decide to wake up tomorrow morning and they say we are not interested in this package, we are legally bound to have them in office for a long time. And I think it's important for them really to understand that Kenya is much bigger than their salaries combined, and even than their egos, that they just need to make sure that the exit is very safe, very peaceful, so that we get in new commissioners to avoid us landing into trouble next year.
Yeah, I don't want to be insensitive to the feelings of the public, but if you look at the package, the way they put it on the media last time, if Izana Sak is going home with probably 12 million,
Yes.
to be honest, that's a huge amount of money for us and the public. But as a lawyer, I do not think that is anything he can be happy about. But as I have said, the issue here, actually, they were trying to protect themselves from public condemnation, from the judicial system, and being charged in court, from political, witch hunt. That is their main interest. I want you to remember the days of Honorable retired President Moi. Everyone was hoping that immediately the new leadership takes over, they will start to hound him and do a lot of things against him. It never happened. I think as long as Hassan Ishaq agreed to leave office with his commissioners, everything else is closed. We do not expect anybody actually to follow him. Even if they did not negotiate this, Kenya's memory, is like, that was the problem we had. It's all closed. We don't want to follow it.
Well, this is among the things we will be discussing. Let's take a look at the next page.